Hello and welcome to afaqs CMO Dialogues. Today we have with us Swati Rathi, Head Marketing at Godrej Appliances. She has about 2 decades of experience in marketing and has worked on several iconic products and brands that many of us are familiar with and are likely consumers of. She's currently responsible for marketing strategy of domestic and medical refrigerators, air conditioners, washing machines, air coolers, dishwashers, microwave ovens, and thermoelectric solutions at Godrej. Welcome, Swati.
Hi, thank you so much.
We hope to learn the fundamentals of marketing that you implement and believe in from you today.
Glad to pitch in with whatever I can.
So you have about 2 decades of experience, and a lot of changes have taken place in these 20 years. Can you start by identifying a few things that have changed drastically or any that have also remained same over these years?
You mean within the marketing function?
Yes, within the marketing function.
I think the single biggest shift that has happened is led by digital. 20 years back, we were not connected with each other all the time. We had no WhatsApp, we had no Facebook, we had no e-commerce. And that's fundamentally changed the way, the world operates. And obviously, marketing has to reflect the same. So, media planning was much, I'm sure it had its own complications, but has become far more complicated, far more challenging. It's got many more dimensions today. The whole stream of e-commerce marketing was non-existent then, but is a very big part of what a lot of us do today. Social media marketing is something that was unheard of. Again, is something that we indulge in, day out. Even creative development, of course, communication development has been the sort of the core of marketing forever. But given that the medium has changed, the way we approach creative development has also shifted a lot. So today, when we make something, we have to think of all the various touch points that, it can be applied to. And therefore, it's not like, a simple, it's not a simple master which then just gets adapted, but you have to think from the perspective of the media vehicle. So, yeah, I think marketing the way it looks today and the way it looked 20 years back, I think there is a sea change in the way we operate. It's almost 24/7, and then the kind of the number of assets that one has to work towards at any point of time has therefore multiplied manifold. So, in terms of core operations and even in terms of the overall strategic operation, everything has changed.
Got it. So you spoke a lot about social media marketing, e-commerce, and you began with digital. So this brings me to my next question. Performance marketing has therefore started playing a bigger role for marketers and possibly even taking away a chunk of your marketing spend on media. So if you can tell us, one is, what is your outlook towards performance marketing? Do you feel that it is drowning out conversations about brand building? And if and how do you use performance marketing? How much do you spend or when you have a campaign coming out, say? So how much would you end up spending on performance marketing versus just creating awareness for the brand?
So, I first of all, I don't think that it needs to be a this versus that. I think performance marketing does, plow into brand building. It can do that. And they need to go hand in hand. They're complementary. I don't think they are divergent necessarily. And I think that approach fundamentally changes how you work towards it. So for example, you can have a tactical element which is strong in the performance marketing piece, but that doesn't mean that it cannot uh, play its role in sort of also furthering the thematic communication. Okay. In fact, uh, and I speak from a durables perspective. See, when it comes to durables, it's a high investment product. So people do a lot of research, people do a lot of comparisons, people try and get deeper into the product and then they buy it, right? And there is a process, there is a timeline that is involved. It's not impulse. Awareness has to be accompanied by consideration building, has to have a compelling reason, and then so there is of course that funnel. But because it is a high investment piece, only tactical led performance doesn't is not enough actually. You have to always give them a compelling reason to buy, which is also from the product side, because it's not enough that I get a cashback or a great finance offer. I need to be convinced that what I'm buying is really fulfilling my need, is adding value to my life, right? And that's brand building, isn't it? So maybe it's because of the sector that we are in that that we have this sort of a perspective, but we feel that they go hand in hand, so it's not a either or situation. And the idea is that whatever we do should align itself into the larger brand building piece, right? And of course there will be times when we will be a little more growth marketing driven. There will be times when we'll be perhaps a little more thematic driven, but again, it's not, it's complementary.
Okay. And if you could give me a sense of when does it skew more towards growth marketing and when towards brand?
So for example, let's say an event like a Republic Day event on e-com platforms, right? Now, that is a time where people have done a little bit of research already on what they want to buy. So it will probably be preceded by a phase of sort of more product led communication. But then during the event, there will be a focus on the offers, etc., to sort of convert. So again, like this also went hand in hand, and there was a clear strategy of what to say when. But during that event, for example, or a Independence Day week, again more online, or let's say the festive season sale in the offline world, because all said and done, offline sales contribute about 85% of industry sales as far as large appliances is concerned. So the offline presence during a festive, it's important to communicate, the additional gains that a customer gets. But I would say that, the communication is a lot more thematic and tactical mixed today. In fact, 15 years, 10 years back, festive used to be a lot about offers and, free gifts, etc. But what has happened and what has shifted is today you get offers and sort of basic hygiene offers almost through the year, right?
Right.
And so even during festive, the product piece, the product narrative, the feature-led approach is actually more important than it used to be earlier. I think people are mindful about the fact that, it's a long-term purchase and they want to kind of understand everything, and it's not just about, the tactical piece.
Today, given how important it is, you were just talking about discounts when there's a festive season or occasions, things like that. How empathetic would a CFO be towards this sentiment of, build the brand first and then you can persuade the consumer?
See, I quite agree with, the piece of a CFO and a CMO working in a very aligned manner, right? I think that that's very important. And it is achievable if there is regular communication, if there is transparency in communication, right? So, just if all the CFO is seeing is the spend piece and not the return, then obviously, one cannot blame them for having that perspective, right? But if the CFO is in the room when we present the results, when the brand health gets discussed, when the strategic plans are being made as to, why this investment is needed, why we need to drive this thematically, why, that big piece of brand building is needed and what will it do, and the results that happened, how did it impact sales? If if all those dots are being connected and being presented regularly, then I think internal buy-ins are not difficult to get. Of course, the CMO also therefore needs to play a big role in terms of understanding the business imperatives. We have to play within the boundaries of the business and understand that it has to plow back and further the cause so that we can get more investment and re-plow back into brand building, right? So everybody has to be aligned with the strategic imperatives of the business. The direction has to be well aligned.
We have peppered our conversation so far with a lot of little nuggets about the appliance category and large appliances and how people end up buying a refrigerator or an AC. And I want to delve a little deeper in that. In the last 20 years, products like ACs, refrigerators are now more common than they were. They've become must-haves in many homes right now. And also, I mean, to an extent, even air purifiers, which I think even 5 years ago, we wouldn't have thought of, my bedroom also needs one, my living room also needs one sort of conversation. So my question to you is, while a lot of research informs consumers' final decision on buying these large appliances, what are some crucial insights, consumer insights that you have picked up on that are driving your campaigns when you think about large appliances?
So one, I think two things that have been top of our minds very recently, so that comes up spontaneously. One is this whole wave of premiumization, right? People, the fundamental shift is that people have higher disposable incomes. They aspire for a better quality of life. And they are in a position to access that here and now, thanks to all the finance offerings, right? So that has fundamentally shifted the way people approach appliance purchase. And therefore, the higher ends are, driving growth in the industry. And that brings us to, and the storytelling there, the sort of key consideration parameters in a premium end can be different from the mass end, right? So the narrative also shifts, therefore. It's more higher order. The other piece is, and sort of related, is the role that aesthetics is playing. Earlier, everything used to be white. Then there was a lot of like bright florals. Today, there's a lot of subtle steel, silver, black. But for example, the latest launch that we did, which is wood finish appliances. It's something which is completely built on aesthetics. We are not talking about anything else, but we are talking about how great it looks at your home. And that's a reflection of the change that has happened at the consumer end. That, of course, the product will deliver on the hygiene, that's a given. But, how does it look at my house? Does it fulfill my home-led aspirations? Does it say something about my personality? Those are things that matter because the consuming audience are also millennials.
Do you also remember the times when you had much conviction about something, you were sure something would work, and then maybe it didn't, maybe for no fault of yours or the teams, but just things didn't come together? Anything like that from where you learned a lot nonetheless?
Yeah, so there was a very interesting product. I think I can't remember the year right now. I think 2012 or 2010 or something like that. Can't really remember. But there was this, we had launched music play refrigerators. Um, it was a very interesting concept. So the refrigerator had the option of, you could also play music while, and that rested on the inside that, people, women particularly, spent a lot of time in the kitchen alone while the rest of the family would be in front of the TV or doing their stuff. But, the woman is stuck in the kitchen, and it could be a little boring. And So we said, let's plug in music and make the kitchen a more entertaining space. And that was the whole piece. And we were very excited about it. There was a lot of stuff that was done. The campaign did very well. There was a lot of co-promos. I remember we had tied up with Ready, or there was a musical movie which was doing very well, and there was an AFP put up and the full stuff. And we were super excited, did very well. But interestingly, the product didn't do all that well eventually. And when we dug deeper, we figured that, in the offline space with the channel partners, they were hesitant about it because, if it's a refrigerator and if there are any sort of feedbacks or issues, that's easily addressable. But with the music piece, it was something that they were not familiar with. So they were like, what if something goes wrong, or if there's feedback on it and we can't address it? And why do we need to, have this hassle? And, so that I think we should have thought more about that channel partner perspective and his role in pushing the product or sort of doing the persuasion piece. And that's where we fell short. So it's not enough. And very interestingly, when we launched, we had extended that product into higher series. We had put it on e-com as well later, and it did really well on the e-commerce place, right? Because there was no, it was just the product and its proposition. So it did very well there. But in the offline space, especially in the lower ends, the mass versions, there was reluctance. So it was a great learning, though.
I want to shift gears a little and talk about your media strategy. And so TV, we spoke about digital already. So TV also is, very useful for brand awareness, drives brand awareness. So how do you strategize when you have to spend on TV? Do you pick certain categories, genres of channels? What's your strategy?
So it's not like a single strategy that one can speak of, right? Because it will change campaign to campaign, it'll change product to product. Having said that, if the objective is building reach, then TV is a very efficient medium to do that. For quick reach, it works well. But digital has its own advantages. So, for example, there are categories which are more niche in nature, where the targeting has to be sharper. So for later in the funnel, also, digital works very well. And again, depending on the category, on its penetration levels. For example, a dishwasher. A dishwasher, it's so niche, it's so sharp that digital is the best medium to talk about it. But for an anti-leak air conditioner, we chose to go with TV and digital. But you're right. So both have their places. But I think connected TV as an offering is extremely promising. We are very excited about it. We think, that's where the future might lie, because it sort of blends the best of both worlds. TV has a great advantage of large screen viewing, which, all said and done, the mobile doesn't do justice. In fact, last time we tried this once, and we figured that the memorability and impact that the large screen viewing brings to the same campaign is of a much higher order. And that's why connected TV again is very exciting, because you get the advantage of flat screen viewing, but you also get the advantage of targeting and the whole digital advantage. So the world is also shifting towards OTT, especially again from a sectoral perspective. Durables, because of the high ticket and because of the lower penetration, we may feel that it's everywhere and every home. But the truth is that the penetration level in the country is still very low, or an air conditioner is at a 10%, 12% kind of a penetration level, right? So there is a long way to go, and it's still being consumed. Many of our categories are still being bought by sort of like a creme audience, a very premium audience. So how do you therefore get sharper in terms of targeting? That is always something that as a marketer I will look out for. And therefore, again, connected seems like a very enticing piece.
So with connected TVs, my question often is, while there is the targeting piece and it's now on TV, it's not just on a mobile device. The advantages that mobile has is you can click to buy. You can say, I have a new AC refrigerator. These are its attributes. Click here, buy on Amazon. But the connected TV does not yet offer that. Or you might want that. I want to see it in this particular shade. So if you had multiple shades of the wood finish, but that is not something you can still do on a connected TV. So what do you think are the things you would want next with connected TV for it to be the package that mobile advertising and digital ads that we see on phones right now?
So listen, I think again, it will vary, but if you're using connected TV for thematic brand building sort of a piece, then the first thing is that it needs to have larger reach. It's right now very, very limited, right? Even for us, it's very limited. We can't just have a only connected TV piece in general. It needs more support, and therefore linear TV still has its role. But fundamentally, right now where we are, we need more numbers happening. That's one. The piece around, can I see it in more shades? Can I go and buy it? Great to have, but not a must for everything, right? So in the long run, will we have it? I think they will be, it seems quite doable. I think in the long run, we will have those options. But let's think from a consumer perspective. I'm in the middle of watching content that I like. Okay, I'm in the middle of watching something very interesting. This may not be the best time for me to really go and click and find out what all is available, but I can do that later, right? So, it could be as simple as a way to giving them a way to come back to it later, leaving them with some kind of a nugget. So, a small action which sends me something digitally on my phone, and then I connect back. So possibilities are immense, and I'm sure they will evolve over time. But it has to be around the consumer's journey and what makes sense to them, rather than sort of force fitting what the brands would want. Yeah.
Got it. And if I could just go back to the first, bit about TV, if you can give me a sense of annually, say, you have 100 rupees, how much do you spend on TV, digital, within digital, how much would go on to performance? If you could give us a sense of this.
So, see, when we do our spend planning, we don't necessarily approach it like this, right? Because it will depend launch to launch, it will depend product to product. Like I said, sometimes we will have TV, sometimes we will not even have TV. But what is a given is some hygiene will always be there, right? So digital is hygiene right now. So a search spend. You
Mm.
know, search presence is hygiene.
Mm.
Your e-com presence is hygiene.
Mm.
Your social presence to some extent, not necessarily the launch pieces, but that would vary in terms of the overall spend bifurcation, but social presence is hygiene. So what has shifted is the, let's say, print as a overall component, what it used to be and what it is now. Print has taken a backseat in overall the way we approach. We tend to go more towards digital or TV. TV, if there is a need to have a really big outreach for something. But as far as performance is concerned, you know, there is always, so within ecom, there will always be a piece which will be more performance driven.
Right.
In the shop floor, there will be a piece which is more performance driven. So yeah, I think it's more about, you know, figuring out what the hygienes are, then what the launches are, which launch will need what kind of support, and therefore what vehicle to use. It's not a blanket sort of a ratio that, you know, will get applied every year.
Cool. Thank you so much. I think we've learned a lot. I have learned a lot. I mean, the little nuggets, as the one about the music refrigerator is going to stay with me for sure. I live for little nuggets like that. Thank you so much for your time today. I'm sure our audience has also learned a lot from you today.
Thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure.